Standard physics relies on a model of individual particles moving through spacetime, or ripples propagating through quantum fields. While successful, this foundation contains a structural flaw known as the late-stage fallacy. Starting with quantum fields or localized particles assumes a coordinate space already exists to hold them. A quantum field is a theoretical framework that models particles as excited states of an underlying continuous medium, but a field requires a pre-existing space to occupy. A foundational theory must derive locality and degrees of freedom from scratch, rather than treating them as a given background. Assuming a field or a manifold requires a where before the what is defined. We cannot understand the true ontology of the universe as long as mathematics is simply bolted on to an assumed spacetime background. The Relational Admissibility Framework, or RAF, provides an alternative. This is a pre-geometric model that bootstraps the universe from pure logic, beginning before space or fields exist. Understanding this requires removing all physical assumptions. Remove the planets, remove the particles, remove the vacuum and time itself. The universe begins with undivided admissibility, represented by the mathematical symbol omega. Omega is the bare logical possibility for distinctions to form. Physical reality is preceded by the latent capacity for a system to contain a difference. The distinction operator, delta, acts on the undivided whole to create a primitive cut, separating state A from B. These points represent pure mathematical contrast, not particles in a void. Through the reciprocity rule, they become mutually constraining, generating specific relational strength and phase. The stabilization of a reciprocal relationship is the first true step of reality. Isolated relationships are unstable. Structure requires a triad of relations governed by the closure functional. When the internal relational phases sum to zero, the frustration drops and the triad locks into a persistent slice. These slices are the true ancestors of physical matter. Existence is a mathematical achievement of relational closure. Geometry emerges as the compressible map of the stable adjacencies between these slices. Distance is the negative logarithm of relational strength. High strength pulls nodes together, rendering a spatial layout. Time is the ordered sequential updating of these stable slice states. A time variable ticks upwards strictly as the network physically updates its configuration. Spacetime is the shadow cast by the continuous updating of a vast relational network. Once space and time are rendered, disturbances move across the adjacency network via the propagation operator. When a slice network becomes dense, the discrete mathematics smooth into a continuous limit. Historically, physicists mistook this smooth wave state for a fundamental quantum field. This rendered network follows a phase transport law, producing the gauge transport equations. James Clerk Maxwell codified these dynamics as the laws of electromagnetism. A photon is a propagating phase disturbance moving through the network that lacks internal closure. This lack of internal closure results in an internal update state of zero. Consequently, light experiences no proper time. Light and fields are the rendered language of an underlying topological network. Matter appears when a persistent slice twists into a loop that cannot unwind. This is identified by the winding number equation, a mathematical integer counting how many times a curve travels around a central point. These inescapable loops are topological defects, which we perceive as particles or mass. This recontextualizes quantum entanglement as a structural necessity. Two entangled particles appear separated in spacetime, but remain fundamentally bound at the deeper slice level. Physical separation is emergent rather than absolute, a realization that reframes the central paradoxes of quantum mechanics. This completes the pre-geometric stack, progressing from undivided admissibility to localized matter. The logical architecture of the universe is complete without once assuming a prior spacetime manifold. Theoretical physics can now use these geometric closure rules to derive constants of nature. Values like the fine structure constant, roughly 1/137, become calculable. The fine structure constant quantifies the strength of the electromagnetic interaction between elementary charged particles. Alpha is reinterpreted as a precise mathematical ratio between local closure and outward propagation. The future of physics lies in solving the ultimate geometric constraints of a pure, undivided reality.